Hey, this is Meredith Elliott Powell. You know what time it is. It is time for Thrive, the show where we dive into the strategies, discuss the steps, everything that you need to know to turn all of this uncertainty into your greatest competitive advantage. Now, I have an awesome guest for you today. I saw this, met Tommy, I guess, oh my God, I don't know how many years ago in Salt Lake City, and just been a fan ever since. His journey has been amazing. And if you want to know how to turn challenge and uncertainty into your greatest opportunity, then this man has got the story for you. We introduced Tommy Mello as a home service expert, but oh my God, wow, that's an amazing title. It is so much bigger than that. I mean, Tommy, you've got books, you've got an unbelievable podcast. I'm a rabid fan. I listen to it all the time. I just listened to the one on mindset for business growth. So for our audience, kind of give us your story. Give us your journey from where you started to where you are now, running a $200 million business.
We should do 300 million this year. And
Okay.
I used to walk into a room and brag about revenue, pump out my chest and say, how much revenue have you done? And then I realized revenue is for vanity and profits for sanity. And I'll tell you, we're at 25% of the bottom line, and we're
Wow.
taking care of our people. And I'll go into that in a little bit, but my mom and dad got a divorce when I was 7. My mom said, we're not moving out of this house. I'm going to keep you in the same school. She worked 3 jobs.
Wow.
And she tried to make it home for every dinner and cook. And her feet had blisters on them every day she came home. And she just tried to provide. She told me, no matter what you do, my mom's the type of lady that if I said, Mom, I got in a car accident, she'd say, where are you? I got a shovel. Let's bury the evidence. Like, she's going to have my back. She'd be at prison every day visiting me if something bad happened. Like, that's who she is. And my dad just taught me, you're a winner. He taught me to be competitive, and he did not embrace second place ever. He said, if you're not first, you're last, shake and bake. And so I was born in Detroit, suburbs of Detroit, Sterling Heights. And I just learned to work as a young age. Mom was working her butt off. My dad was still my soccer coach and hanging out, going through his own prison, really. And, I shovel snow and mow lawns. That's what you do when you're a kid and you need to make money. And then when I was 12, I got a job washing dishes at $4.05 an hour under the table, because you have to be 13 to work.
Sure.
And I learned to work really, really hard. I learned the harder I work, the more money I make. Until one day I woke up on vacation and I didn't have any money coming in. I was like, whenever I leave, I don't make money. So I knew I had to start a business, and I tried a lot of things. I was a bartender. I bussed tables. I had a small landscaping business. And then I fell into the garage door industry, and I made every single mistake you could think of. If you could think it had happened, like Murphy's Law slapped me in the face. Like, people are like, what's the best strength of yours? I'm like, I'm not afraid of failure anymore. I fail all the time. My whole team, we're all really good failures. And I don't get mad when they fail. I don't say, you should have asked me, I told you so. I go, did we learn from this? And luckily it was only a $50,000 mistake, not a $5 million mistake. Because when you're talking about the dollars we're talking about, $50,000 mistakes are okay. And I used to think I knew what A players were. I thought I had a lot of A players till I started meeting people that have been where I want to go. And my best ability is success leaves clues. I'm a student. I travel to I started traveling to HVAC companies that were doing over 100 million. And they'd take me in as a 25, 27-year-old, and they'd answer all my questions. I'd buy them lunch. I'd read their books. I'd hang out with their CFO and their COO and their trainers. And then one thing that they told me is, dude, everything we tell you, you implement. Like, we tell a lot of people this stuff, you go do it. I met a few key people. One of the things that was missing is an amazing CFO. And I think that's what's missing in most companies, people that renegotiate your contracts, people that understand what EBITDA really is and understand financial planning, FP&A, financial planning and analysis is. We got 3 full-time people doing that. And we were able to find money, a little bit of money here, renegotiate here, get a bigger rebate here, now I've got a credit card that gives me 2.4% back, highest I've ever heard.
Yeah.
We've got tracking on everything, and we find all these little gems every month. And, it's not about the revenue. It's not about the profit. It's not about a one garage or a service. You take away all the money, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart. You take away the houses. You take away everything I have. It's who I had to become to get here. You can never take away the person I had to become. And I've been stumped a million times, but I don't give up. I don't quit on myself, because when I look in the mirror, I'm not ashamed of who I am. I'm working on myself every day. I'm the worst I'm the best I've ever been, but the worst I'll ever be, because tomorrow I'm going to be a little bit better.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, because you've said so much right there. Is that, first of all, I mean, the biggest thing you learn from your parents is work ethic. It is about hard work. It is about, it's okay to fail, but you got to dust yourself off. You got to get back in. So you decide that you need to start a business and fail in every aspect of starting a business. When did it occur to you that in order to build your business, you needed to learn from other people who were more successful than you are? And where did you get the courage to just start reaching out? Like, did somebody show you to do that, or was that some innate idea that you had?
No, this happened over time. I kind of see things, it's weird, around corners. Like,
Mhm.
I'll meet a good busboy and I'll recruit him. What happened one day is my CPA handed me a book and he said, if you read this book, and by the way, the CPA only worked with 10 people and they were all worth over $20 million. And this is 2007.
Wow.
And he goes, I don't know why, kid, but I like you. He goes, don't even pay me. He goes, but here's the deal. You got to read a book every 2 weeks. He handed me the E-Myth by Michael Gerber. I read it. He goes, when's the last book you read? I said, To Kill a Mockingbird in 11th grade. So he handed me the book. I whizzed through the book. I said, Tommy, you want more? And then he said, this is what I call the Red Bible. It's the ultimate sales machine by Chet Holmes. Then he handed me The Richest Man in Babylon. And all he kept doing is feeding me. And I just read. So I found a lot of answers there. And then I met people in the HVAC industry. I thought one day, who has the most private jets? And the clear answer was HVAC guys. So I started asking them questions. I show up to their doorstep. I bring their whole team lunch when I didn't even have enough money to buy the lunch. Like, I was using credit cards. And for some reason, these successful people decided they're going to pay it forward for this young kid that's just trying to find his way. And if you ask your elders great questions and you come sincere and humble, they always come through.
Right.
So, and what I've realized is success leaves clues. If you want to get to the top of Google, don't go ask a million people. Search, what's the largest industry? HVAC, roofing, flooring, in your market. Find the top guy. Get a hold of them. Tell them how much you read up on them and how amazed you are. And if you could take them to lunch, work around their schedule, show up, be very persistent, and you will get through, because they've already done it. They're at the top of Google. They're at the top of Evangelists. They're at the top of Yelp. They got the best product mix. If I want to find out, and I'm not a father yet, but I will be. If I want to find out how to be a great father, I'm going to go find the parents with the best, politest, honorable, smiling kids. I'm not going to read a book on it. I'm going to go find the true life experience of who's done it. And I'm going to say, you are the best father I've ever met. The kids you're raising, could I get advice from you? That's, and I'm not afraid to ask. My favorite 3 letters, ASK. Do not be afraid to ask. Worst case scenario, you get a no.
So how old were you when you started mowing lawns and doing those types of things?
8.
So where do you think that factors into your success, that you were working and understanding that in order to get money or to get income and to be able to do the things that you want to do, you had to go out and earn it yourself?
We had a bathroom next to mom and dad's room, and I used to stand on the toilet with my ear to the drywall. And I did this every day and heard my mom and dad argue about bills, and literally it wrecked their marriage. And all I remember, I had the weight of the world on my shoulders because I didn't want to ask them for money. I mean, lunch was $2, and I felt bad even asking for that when I heard them falling apart, arguing about the simplest little bills. So I said, I don't want to be a nuisance. My sister was 6 years older. She was a great nuisance. She's like, I want eternity, perfume, everything. She just wanted what she wanted. And I said, I just hated asking mom and dad for money. And so even at that young age, I'm like, if I can make some money picking weeds, or I knew we had a Honda mower. I knew how to cut grass. I knew I could get a couple neighbors. And at $15 a lawn, if I did it twice, that was $30. And $30 for a young kid goes a long way. I just went to the corner store. If I wanted a candy bar, a bazooka bubble gum, or buy some baseball cards, I didn't have a lot of bills back then. I miss those days.
That's right. In all honesty, I think you could do a lot of things for a living, because when I think of you and I think of the things that I read on your blogs, listen to a lot of your podcasts, it's and certainly your book, Elevate, so much of it is focused on taking care of the people that work for you. And when did the focus, because most people, when they go into business, the goal is to make money, right? I mean, that's the goal. We want to support ourselves. We want to take money. And then somewhere along the line, that shifts, not that you don't want to be profitable, but it becomes about something. Where did you start to learn about the importance of taking care of the team and surrounding yourself with really good people?
I always wanted to be a good mentor, and I knew if you wanted, what I realized probably 7 years ago is that I am a role model to the people around me. And, if you wonder why your kids are unhealthy or smoke or drink, is because they saw you doing it. If they
Mhm.
got diabetes, and I know some of that's hereditary, but the fact is, you are a role model. And as a leader, you're a role model for everybody. And Zig Ziglar said, and I read Zig Ziglar a million times, all of his stuff. You could have anything you want in life if you help enough people get what they want. But the day everything changed is when COVID happened.
Mm.
And I didn't know what we were going to do. I literally didn't know if this was going to kill everybody. Like we thought when it really hit, like it was bad. We didn't know about the PPP money. And I had a line outside of my door. And the first guy walked in and said, I don't know what's going to happen, dude, but I'm here for life. He goes, cut my pay in half. My wife's got a good job. You don't owe me anything after this. He goes, we could afford it. Then the next person walked in and said, take all my sick days that I have and all my PTO and use it for other people. And this line, there was several people. And I looked down after all this and I got goosebumps thinking about it. And
Yeah.
a tear came out of my eye. And I'm like, what did I do to deserve this? And I got to man up even to the next level. And Darren Hardy in The Compound Effect wrote, 100 things he wanted in a woman. He read the list out loud and said, I could never get a woman like this. So he wrote 100 things he would need to become. So I thought about that. I just got done reading that book and I wrote down 30 things I would need to become to attract the right people that I
Yeah.
wanted to come work with me. And so when I wrote the book Elevate, I realized I have to have a dream so big that every single person that's part of this group, my coworkers, their dreams have to fit inside of my dream. So I make every single person write their dreams. And if you give me shitty dreams, like you want to own a house, it's not good enough. I want you to own 10 houses. I don't want you going to Disney World. First class in the penthouse, cutting all the lines. Like dream bigger than you thought possible. And I will give you every tool you need to accomplish those dreams. And we're going to, every time we sit down, I'm going to remind you, not my dreams, not my goals, not a performance improvement plan, but I'm going to remind you of why you're here. And sometimes I got to peel this onion apart to get to their real why,
Yeah.
their real dreams. And if you're ever talking to somebody and I say, Meridith, you told me how much your mother meant, and you told me you were going to take her to Italy for 2 weeks, and you told me that was the most important thing, and I looked into your eyes, and I know tomorrow's not promised. You said you wanted this. I'm here to hold you accountable to your dreams. And do you like me to hold you accountable, or do you want me to let you on a free pass? Because I want this trip for you more than you want it for yourself. That's not being an asshole. That's being the real deal, caring
Right.
more.
Mhm. I am understanding that everybody who works for you has a vision, has a dream, and your job then is to build this company that helps them achieve that dream, that they have ownership and accountability in it as well.
A lot of people's dreams is to fix their smile. A lot of people's dreams is actually to get in shape. A lot of people's dreams is to spend more time. It's not all monetary.
Sure.
So a lot of my goals are, money's great. Money's freedom. It's a tool. But here's the real deal. When you make it to the top of the mountain and you got a gold treasure of all the money, I know billionaires that commit suicide, that
Yeah.
are on drugs, that have the worst relationships. That is not the treasure. The treasure is when someone calls you up and says, I was about to get a divorce. I had no relationship with my kids. Now I eat dinner with them every night. We go to church. I show up to every game. Me and my wife are healthier than ever. When that starts happening in your life, it's addicting. You want to help more people. It is like a drug. It's euphoria. It's like a dopamine rush. That, and it might sound cliche, people don't need to believe me, but when you get these messages, I just got a message from a lady last week. She was at one of my meetings for my Freedom event. She lost 50 pounds and she's got the biggest smile on her face and she thinks she's going to rule the world. Like she's looking in the mirror now and smiling at herself, walking into a room with a different swag. And if
Yeah.
I have that effect, and I could have that effect on hundreds of thousands, maybe millions, I think God blessed me with a talent and I want to put it to deeper and deeper use. And I tell people not what they want to hear, but what they need to hear. And sometimes it's not nice. But if I could drive some people in the room, especially the people that I get to work with, the pleasure of working with, then I'm obligated to do it.
So when did you go from running a business to this bigger dream of really making an impact? And what was the journey and the path there?
Well, one day I woke up and all of a sudden the money was there. Because
Yeah.
being a kid listening to your parents get a divorce, I really did want to be the provider for my sister, my niece, my nephews. I wanted to make sure my dad had a great house. I wanted to make sure my mom, she and my stepdad worked for me. So I had to solve that problem first. And then, and that's easy for me to say, but if you guys knew where I came from and some of the stuff, my life is not hard. And I'm glad everything happened for a reason. But I went through a lot of
Right.
shit to get here. But then it just became, that it wasn't all about the money. And I don't know what day it was, but it happened several years ago. And I'm just like, the life's got to be more than this. Instead of chasing social media and trying to be like the Joneses and trying to go on these great extravagant vacations, it's about quality time with the people I love. It's about change. It's about being the best version of myself. It's about being proud of myself. And it meant giving up a load of stuff that was on my back. It meant sacrifice. And it meant, for me, it just meant let go and focus on the now. I used to live 10 years in the
Yeah.
future. I'm so busy. I was busy. And now I'm just like, man, I'm on this earth. I'm right here. I'm going to live in the moment. I'm going to be okay being alone. I'm going to actually tell people I love them. And I'm not perfect. I got a lot of work to do, but I'm trying to get better. That's the main thing.
You've had this incredible journey, and I think that most people that I interview on this podcast, it's interesting in life that the obstacles are the path to growth and profitability. It's the things that when you have had hit challenges in life, have you embraced them and used them as a way to propel you forward? I feel like we are living in a world now where more people are, um, you know, mentally depressed. They're struggling. Business is really difficult for a lot of people right now. And there's certainly the obstacles. It's fair. I mean, we've got a lot of inflation. We've got a lot of uncertainty out there. But what do you think the biggest challenge is that people and business owners face today? And what are two changes that they really need to make in order to start to use the challenges in front of them, like you have done, to move them forward?
Out of all the bad things that have happened and all the stories, it really, 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 it's hard for me to remember any of it.
Mm.
I don't let the past define me. I use that as the fire going forward. I use that as an asset. I got written down here. I turn my adversity into my advantages. I'm a bloodline breaker. Well, that's what my buddy says. Like literally, like I'm the one. There's people around me that mentors. It's like everything changed with me. We don't think anymore like we used to think. Like here's the thing. I know now that if I focus on the past, if I focus on things I can't control, like the traffic jams, if I literally don't change my circle into people that I look up to, then I live in a cage.
Yeah.
And I think so many people, they live in the past, they let the past define them. I think a lot of people, they focus on what they can't control. They focus on Bidenomics, and they focus on Ukraine and Israel. They focus on the traffic. And I think, man, I can move my fingers. I wake up with energy. I don't have aches. I'm very lucky. Out of the 9 billion people on this planet, I'm very fortunate to be where I am. I focus on the good things. And I thank God every day. I just got baptized 2 weeks ago. Like I believe in Jesus, and I'm not trying to pass on my faith, but I'll say this loud and proud because I made a deal with Jesus that I have faith. I literally walk for an hour a day and I work out hard 5 hours a week on top of that. And the dopamine and the serotonin, if you can't get right with you, if you have no energy, if you can't think clear, if you're letting alcohol or drugs or no sleep or the bad food that's out there fog your brain, and you don't look in the mirror and you're not proud of yourself when you could do something about it, then good luck. If you can't help yourself, then what? If you cannot look in the mirror and walk into a room and look somebody in the eyes then you got to work on you. You know, when you're on a plane and the oxygen mask pops out, they
Yeah.
say, put it on you before you help anybody else, even your kids. Most people need to work on them before they can fix anybody else. We're too busy trying to fix our people and help our employees and fix the customers and get better clients. Help yourself first. That's what I would tell every business owner and every person there is get right first. Have energy. Eat the right foods. Put the time into you. Read books, meditate, pray, spend time with family. And I know it's easy to say, but everybody says my family's the most important thing. Bullshit. If I look at your calendar and your credit card bills, I'll look at what your real priorities are. You say that because you want to sleep at night. You tell everybody my family, but let me see you at a baseball game. You're on your phone, not paying attention, thinking about work. When you're at work, you're thinking about your family. You're never where your feet are. There's a big
Right.
problem. A lot of people say what they think people want to hear, but if you looked at their life, they'd be ashamed.
You know, it's interesting because a lot of what you're talking about is this article I probably read 15 years ago called The Corporate Athlete, which has become, kind of a book by Tony Schwartz, kind of a big movement. But the idea is that you can never achieve the level of your potential if you don't fix every aspect of your life. Your health has got to be good. Your relationships have got to be good. Your spirituality has got to be good. Your finances have got to be straight. And then professionally, you've got to be straight either. That the idea that, if you're unhealthy and successful, you have not maxed out to your potential. Were you always that way in understanding all those areas mattered, or is that something you learned from mentors and people that you looked up to?
I've had a lot of help, and I've always got 5 to 7 coaches at a time.
Yeah.
I spend millions of dollars on myself a year. Like I've got a nutritionist, I've got a chef, I got a driver, and I'm saying this as humbly as possible. I work with a guy named Dan Martell, Buy Back Your Time. I'm one of 6 people that work closely with him.
Mhm.
And he told me one day, he goes, Tommy, you're 75 years old, and you're thinking back to when you were 41 today. I want you to tell me everything about you. How did you act when you walked in a room? When you bought a house, what did it look like? When you brought your mom to Italy, where did you go visit? If you bought a new car, what does it look like? We got to start manifesting. And listen, if you had a video camera on you at all times, would you be proud of you?
No.
Would you let your family want to watch you when you're making moves? When you're literally, would you be proud if your kids, your future kids saw you doing what you're doing? And if you could actually try to maintain that, and it's not very hard. I mean, as human beings, we succumb to things pretty easily, whether that's drinking or staying out too late or what, certain people, the strip club, whatever it might be, but that doesn't bring me happiness. It's fake. And I
Yeah.
guarantee you, every single person we know, I believe this on this planet, I think evil is real and there's a demon out to get us.
Mhm.
And I'm not trying to be religious, but I think if we listen to that voice, it's so easy to succumb. Don't get up this morning. Get on social media. Watch more TV. Don't go outside. That's going to make you feel good. That's going to make you do more. That's going to make you try harder. That's going to make you succeed more. That's not what we want. We're here to take you down. And some people let that voice talk to them. And when you start ignoring your conscience, it goes away. And so I've learned to listen to the good side as much as possible.
And does a lot of that come from giving yourself the quiet time to meditate, the time to learn, the time to, because I do think we are living in a world where it is difficult to stay positive. I mean, most of the messages that we get on a routine basis are negative messages. I mean, by design. If you watch, social media, you get a few happy things here and there, but for the most part, it is designed to keep us angry or to hold us back.
Well, social media is not a fair glimpse of people's lives. It's the perfect lighting, the perfect stuff, the perfect bodies. The algorithm puts the best pictures of people. It's fake. And this is why there's so much suicide and people trying to live up to the Joneses. And the fact is, the one thing I do religiously is long walks. And I got to tell you, time in the sun, in Mother Nature, walking by trees,
Yeah.
smelling the air. I'm in Paradise Valley, Arizona. There's
Mhm.
mountains. It's so beautiful, and just taking it all in and being glad to be alive in the sun and sometimes the clouds and being in Mother Nature. Like a long walk, 30 minutes a day will change. Just do this for 90 days. Do
Yep.
30-minute walk for 90 to 100 days. Watch the way you feel. It's not going to happen. You're going to go on a walk for 7 days. You're going to be like, this sucks. You got to stay disciplined. Very few people, you might be motivated, but discipline's a whole new thing. If you can stay disciplined, and very few people have discipline, I just got off a podcast last week with a lady that wrote Dopamine Nation.
Yeah,
And
I just
dopamine,
listened to it.
yeah, and I'll tell you this: dopamine gets released when you do hard things.
Yes.
The human being, the DNA we have, we were built for our ancestors were built to do hard things. We don't have to do hard things. And I'll tell you this: hard times make weak people,
Yeah.
and weak times make hard people, or whatever. I might have said that backwards. But
No, you didn't. You got it right.
and I look at these people, and they don't want to get out of their house. They watch TV. They eat fat. The food, and I've been studying the food. I go walking most of the time for an hour, and I burn about 550 calories.
Mm-hmm.
A little pack of pistachios has 700 calories.
Yeah.
You eat a burger, it's 2,200 calories. You look at this stuff and you're like, I just walked for an hour. I'm going to blow it for 1 minute of satisfaction. I call it delayed gratification. Most
Right.
business owners don't have this. Meredith, most business owners I know, they work hard for 3 years. The business starts succeeding and they talk to their wife or husband and they go, we deserve this Harley. We deserve this second house. We deserve to get this. When if they just put it back into this asset, it would bear fruit. It would grow bigger. It would have this whole pile of fruit. And most people want it done now. They overestimate what they could do in a year and underestimate what they could do in 5. And they don't have the patience. They don't have the discipline. They lack discipline. And discipline is one of those characteristics. It's probably the biggest thing I respect about people is when I see discipline. And most people just don't have it.
What I believe is that most people don't want to be uncomfortable, and success comes from being uncomfortable. I was thinking about this morning. I only started playing tennis a few years ago, and I want to get better at it. It's not a sport I'm good at. I'm good at a lot of sports, but tennis isn't one of them. So they invited me to come to a league that plays at 6 a.m. 2 days a week, and it's all 4-0 and 4-5 guys. They're ridiculously good. And most of the time, 99% of the time I show up, I'm the only woman. I'm the worst player in the group, and I'm the only woman. I was thinking about this when I was on the tennis court the other day. First of all, I get my honey out there at 6 a.m. I mean, I'm literally on a tennis court by 6 a.m. But I'm not afraid not to be the best there. And these guys help me, and they're good to me, kind of like you said. Like, people who have mastered stuff want to help other people. But most people don't have the desire to be uncomfortable enough to do what that takes to not be good in the room. And because it's fearful, it's like, that sounds ridiculous. I mean, it's only tennis, but I think about that when I go to make a call on a really big company or something like that. Like, you have to be okay with failure and rejection and realize that that's part of the path and that's part of the journey.
Oh, 100%. And here's the deal. I'll be honest with you. My bracelet here says A1 from day one, aspire to be number one.
Mm-hmm.
My old CEO used to beat me at ping pong.
Yeah.
So I hired the number one ping pong coach west of the Mississippi, and I got better than him. I get beat at cornhole. I just got a cornhole trainer because here's the thing. I don't want to get better by myself. I want to learn the technique to go straight to the top the fastest. Everybody goes, I'm going to figure this out. My dad and my grandpa, they're men's men. They don't ask for directions. I'm the first one to ask for help. I'm like, if there's a better way, I'm not going to reinvent the wheel.
So true.
Of course, I fail all the time.
But you figure it out. One thing I want to say about that is that far too often I see people doing things, and if you do not hire a coach, if you do not hire a trainer, you don't understand what you're doing. I was about a week ago, I was on the golf course with a girlfriend of mine who was struggling with golf, and she asked me for some advice, and I said, I'm not the person to really give you advice. I know what works in my game. I said, but what I can tell you is you need to understand what's going on when you don't hit the ball. And you need to understand what's going on when you do, so that it's not that you're not going to screw up, because we're going to screw up. But have you learned from the person who could teach you so that you can adjust what needs to be adjusted in order to get better? It's about understanding the fundamentals so that you can control your own progress.
Yeah, I got a golf coach too.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, you're 1% of the population that actually could draw the ball. But he goes, you're coming way too shallow. And he just gave me some drills. And all of a sudden, I'm gunning the ball. I'm in a 9-iron 165. And literally, he's like, you could be a scratch handicap. But he said, you need to start working with me more.
Yeah.
And he's got all the skills, and he's a great coach. I'm not the best coach. I'm not. But I've gone to the best coaches. And the coaches are very rare. when you find a great one.
Yes.
They're like very rare that you get the best player that becomes a great coach. It's very, very rare.
So true. It's completely a different skill set. Well, it is hard to believe, but we are at the end of this podcast. Tommy, I just so admire everything that you're doing. I want you to tell our audience how they can find out more about you, how they can find out more about your company, more importantly, how they can find out more about your book and your podcast. Listen, but please don't think you got to listen to this podcast to be in home services. There are such great guests and such good information on there. You really need to follow it.
No, I really appreciate the opportunity to be on here. The book, it's really not a home service book. It's called Elevate, Build a Business Where Everybody Wins. You can find it on Amazon or go to elevateandwin.com. My podcast just hit number 10 in North America for business. 230,000 downloads last month. So I'm pretty proud of that. Got a great team. The guests are what make it possible. And then I got a really cool event coming up. The event is called Freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And it's September 25th through the 27th in San Diego, freedomevent.com. I got Jocko Willett coming. I'm a big fan of that guy because he's disciplined. I got Steve Sims.
Mm-hmm.
I got Keith Mercurio. If you ever read the book Blue Fishing,
oh yeah,
like I just got a good group of people coming. The fundamentals of business are all the same.
Yes.
Like I could fix any company in the world with the stuff we talk about. Now, one of the biggest things is stop freaking hiring people and start recruiting people. And if you want to stack the deck, stack the team. And I promise you, if you come to this event and you're not blown away, it doesn't change your life. And I'm not here. I make no money on these events, by the way. And I'm not going to sell you anything on the stage. I'm not a good, I make my money in the garage door industry. I've done well. I'm not here to sell a bunch of people a bunch of stuff. I want to get the word out there. I lose money on these events and I really don't care because I think it's my duty to do these things. So freedomevent.com. And if you go to Tommy Mello, no W, TOMMYMELLO.com, that's got all my social media and ways to get a hold of me. And Meridith, I think you're the most awesome person. Like you're always smiling. You're optimistic. You got the best stage presence. You're friends with everybody. You're always trying to help everybody. And I'm a really big fan of yours. And I appreciate this opportunity. Like seriously, really, really, this is always great to see you.
Always great to see you as well, Tommy. And I'll keep following that. That means a lot to me. Thanks so much. All right, everybody. We'll see you right back here next week for another episode of Thrive. We'll get this wrapped up, put it in the podcast, going to completely promote freedom all over the place. I'd love to send that out to some of my clients and encourage them to attend. But thank you again to everybody. Thank you for being an amazing audience. We'll see you right back here next week for another episode of Thrive.